Long before the days of hunger, before men dug the earth for food or stretched their hands in prayer, the sky lived close to the earth. It was a time when every man's laughter reached heaven and heaven laughed back. When women sang by the rivers and their voices brushed the face of the sky like wind on silk. In those days, people did not know pain. They did not sweat to eat. When a man was hungry, he simply stretched out his hand, tore a piece from the sky, and ate. The taste was beyond words, sweet like roasted yam with honey, soft like warm bread, filling like love. But with time, hearts changed. The same people who once sang to the sky began to waste what the sky gave. They threw away the gifts. They mocked the voice that fed them. And that was how peace between man and heaven began to die. The story you're about to hear is how the sky left us. And why, to this day, it never came close again. You are watching Nightfall Tales by Wura, where every story touches the soul and every word paints a world you'll never forget. In the beginning, the land of Arawa lay beneath a blue sky so close, you could touch it. The people of Arawa lived in beauty and peace. There was no hunger, no sickness, no war. The sky gave them everything: food, rain, light, and warmth. When the farmers worked, they did not sweat. When they sang, the sky hummed along. Every morning, mist fell from heaven like milk, coating the leaves and fields with blessings. The people loved the sky, and the sky loved them too. In the center of Arawa stood the palace of Queen Adira, a woman of glowing skin and eyes like calm rivers. She was wise, brave, and kind, but her heart held a weakness no one saw: a deep hunger for more. She ruled alongside her council and her only daughter, Nnenna, a child of light, gentle and innocent, whose laughter could calm storms. One morning, as dawn painted gold over the hills, Queen Adira walked out to her balcony. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Oh sky, you are beautiful. But could you not give us more? More sweetness, more fruit, more joy?" The sky, hearing her gentle voice, smiled and sent a warm breeze that danced through her hair. That evening, Adira gathered her people in the palace courtyard. Musicians played drums and flutes, children danced, and laughter filled the air. And from above, the sky opened. Pieces of shining food, like light itself, drifted down. People shouted in joy, filling baskets, filling mouths, filling hearts. The sky fed everyone. But at the end of the feast, half of it lay wasted, trampled by feet, rotting by nightfall. Tamawa, a humble farmer and the oldest man in the village, looked upon the waste inside. "When gifts come from heaven," he said softly, "you do not throw them to the dirt." But no one listened. For why should they? The sky was always near. Weeks passed. The people of Arawa grew lazy. Why farm, when food fell from the sky? Why store, when blessings never ended? Children no longer sang to the rivers. Men no longer tilled the soil. Women stopped weaving baskets. All they did was eat, sleep, and call upon the sky for more. The sky, gentle and patient, kept giving. But even patience has its end. One morning, as the dew melted and the drums of the market began to beat, the sky sent its messenger, a great white bird named Erebus, whose feathers shone like moonlight. It landed before Queen Adira's throne and spoke in a voice that echoed like wine through a cave. "Queen of Arawa, the sky loves your people, but they waste what they are given. The sky grows weary of watching blessings rot. Tell them to eat only what they need, and to honor what falls from above." The queen bowed respectfully. Tell the sky its words are heard. But that night, when the people gathered for another feast, she said nothing. Instead, she raised a cup of palm wine and said, "Let the sky pour again. Let the heavens rain food till the rivers are full." The crowd cheered. The sky gave again. And again, half was wasted. Old Tamawa shook his head as he watched his people sing. The sky warns, but pride makes the ears deaf. That night, as the moon rose, Erebus flew back into the heavens, his cry echoing. They did not listen. High above, the sky dimmed slightly, and a wind of sorrow swept across the land. The sky began to change. At first, it was small things. The pieces of food became fewer. The light was softer. The morning mist did not fall as thick as before. But the people did not notice. Queen Adira hosted her biggest feast yet, calling all the villages around. She wanted to show that Arawa was the most blessed land beneath heaven. Cooks prepared mountains of food: yams, fruits, roasted fish, honey, and corn that shimmered like gold. They cooked so much that their pots brushed against the sky's soft belly. Every stroke of the spoon scraped the sky's surface, and it hurt. A rumble spread across the heavens. The people looked up, startled. The sky darkened, trembling like a wounded beast. A voice rolled across the land, deep and sorrowful. "I warned you. I fed you, yet you mocked me." Thunder broke. Lightning flashed. The wind tore through the trees. Erebus, the white bird, descended one last time, feathers shaking. "Adira! The sky's heart is breaking. You must tell your people to repent before dawn." For the first time, Queen Adira's pride faltered. She ran out into the storm, rain washing over her jeweled gown, shouting to the crowd. "Stop! Stop the feast! The sky is angry." But it was too late. The earth groaned. The sky roared. And slowly, painfully, it began to rise. Higher, higher, higher. The people stretched their hands, crying, "Wait! Don't leave us!" But the sky did not stop. When dawn came, it was gone, far beyond reach. And for the first time, the people of Arawa woke hungry. Morning came with an emptiness that words could not hold. The people of Arawa stepped outside and looked up. The sky, once close enough to touch, now hung far away, silent, distant, and cold. The colors had changed too. It was no longer soft blue, but pale and withdrawn, like someone who had loved too deeply and been hurt too much. For the first time in the history of the land, the people felt hunger. Their stomachs groaned, and their hands trembled. They looked around, waiting for the heavenly food to fall, but nothing came. Queen Adira stood at her balcony, her face pale with fear. She whispered to herself, "What have we done?" Down in the village square, men argued. Some blamed the queen for her endless feasts. Some blamed the old man Tamawa for not doing more to warn them. Others cried to the sky, shouting, "Come back! We are sorry." But the sky remained quiet. Days passed. The rivers began to dry. The crops that had once thrived under heaven's gentle mist began to wither. The songs of the birds faded. And at night, when people slept, the sky watched, but from afar. It missed their laughter, their songs, their joy. But pain had built a wall between them. Then, one evening, Queen Adira stood before her people. Her crown was gone. Her voice trembled. "My people," she said, "we were foolish. We took without gratitude. We feasted without care. But I will not rest until I find a way to bring the sky back." A voice came from the crowd, the voice of Tamawa, weak but firm. "Then we must learn again what it means to be humble." And so began their search for forgiveness. Weeks turned into moons. The kingdom that once overflowed with abundance was now a land of dust. The people tried to farm, but the soil had forgotten how to feed them. It cracked beneath their feet like broken pottery. Children cried at night from hunger. Mothers searched for roots to boil. Men fought over the smallest harvests. Queen Adira could no longer bear to see her people suffer. She walked barefoot across the dying fields, praying softly, "O sky, if you hear me, forgive us. We did not understand your heart." But only the wind answered. One afternoon, as the sun scorched the hills, her daughter, Nnenna, found an injured bird by the stream. Its feathers glowed faintly white, soft, almost divine. She recognized it immediately. "Erebus," she whispered. The bird lifted its weak head. "Child of the queen," it said faintly, "I fell when the sky rose. The bond between heaven and earth is broken. But it is not lost." Nnenna carried Erebus gently to her mother. When Queen Adira saw the bird, she wept. "Messenger of heaven, tell me, what can we do? What will bring back the sky?" Erebus closed its eyes and whispered. "Not the queen's power, not gold, only a heart pure enough to remind the sky what love felt like." A heart that still sings, even in hunger. Then the bird fell silent. That night, Nnenna sat by her window and looked up at the faraway sky. She whispered softly, "If you can still hear me, please remember us. Remember how we once sang to you. We are sorry." A single tear rolled down her cheek, and as it fell, a faint shimmer of light blinked in the heavens. The sky had heard. From that night on, strange things began to happen. Whenever Nnenna sang, the wind stirred gently. The trees swayed. The stars seemed to blink closer. Her voice was soft, but it carried something powerful: innocence. One morning, the people of Arawa gathered in the square to pray. They had grown thin, their eyes hollow, their hope fading. Queen Adira stood beside her daughter and said, "If heaven listens to anyone, it will listen to a child." So Nnenna stepped forward. She lifted her face to the distant sky and began to sing. Her song was not long, but it was filled with truth. Sky, we miss your laughter. Sky, we miss your rain. We forgot how to thank you. But we have learned again. As her voice echoed, the clouds began to stir. A breeze swept through the crowd. Children gasped, pointing upward. A streak of light shot across the sky like a falling star. The queen fell to her knees, whispering, "She's reaching them." That night, when everyone slept, the sky spoke in a dream to Nnenna. "Child of the earth, I have watched your heart. You remind me of what love used to be. But I cannot return as before. Humans must learn to cherish what is earned. Yet for you, I will give a gift." When Nnenna woke, the land smelled different. The air was cool. Dew covered the grass once again, but not from the sky's nearness, rather from its mercy. The people rejoiced. They learned to farm again. They learned to work, to share, and to give thanks. The sky stayed far away, but it watched with love, knowing its distance had taught them wisdom. The morning after Nnenna's dream, the land of Arawa woke to a miracle. The air was cool again. A faint mist rolled across the fields like the memory of the sky's old embrace. When the first drop of rain touched the earth, people came running out of their huts, some barefoot, some still half asleep. They lifted their faces to the heavens as gentle rain fell, soft and silver. It was not the rain of old, not food falling from heaven, but water. Real, life-giving water. The old farmer Tamawa, now frail but smiling, knelt in the mud and whispered, "The sky has not forgotten us. It has forgiven, but not spoiled us." Queen Adira stood beside him, holding Nnenna's hand. "The sky's mercy is different now," she said. "It will not feed us with its body anymore. But it will give us what we need to live." From that day, the people of Arawa learned to live differently. They tilled the soil again. They sang while planting. They thanked the rain before drinking. Whenever the clouds gathered, the children would run out and lift their hands, laughing. The sky is crying with joy again. Nnenna's name spread beyond the hills. Other villages came to hear the story of the child whose song had touched the heavens. Some called her the daughter of rain. Others called her the little voice of heaven. But to Queen Adira, she was simply her child, the reminder that purity could heal what pride had broken. Still, sometimes at night, Adira would step outside and look at the distant stars. And though the sky was far away, she could feel it watching, silently, gently. Seasons changed. The land bloomed again, green and alive. The people worked hard, but they were happier now than they ever were in the days of plenty. There was a certain pride in what they grew with their own hands. Tamawa often gathered the children beneath the great Irako tree and told them stories. Once, the sky was close enough to touch. But greed pushed it away. The sky moved not because it hated us, but because it wanted us to grow. The children listened wide-eyed, imagining the time when food fell from heaven like rain. Then he would add gently, "If the sky ever comes close again, promise you'll treat it with love." And the children would shout, "We promise." One day, while harvesting, Nnenna found something shining beneath the soil, a small stone, glowing faintly blue. She took it to Tamawa. He studied it for a long time and said, "This is a gift. A reminder that heaven still speaks through the earth." That evening, they placed the stone at the center of the village. Whenever people passed by, they touched it lightly and whispered a prayer of gratitude. And so, Arawa became known not for its riches, but for its wisdom. Travelers came from far lands to see the village that had once eaten from heaven and survived its silence. Years passed. Nnenna grew into a young woman, graceful and kind. The people still sang her name, but she never let pride take root. One quiet evening, as the sun melted into gold, she walked alone to the edge of the river, the same place where she had once sung to the sky as a child. The water reflected the fading light like a mirror of the heavens. She knelt, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Are you still there?" A soft wind brushed her face. The air shimmered faintly, and then she heard it, the voice of the sky, low and calm. "I never left, Nnenna. I only rose higher so you could learn to stand taller." Tears filled her eyes. "Will you ever come close again?" The sky replied, "I will always be where hearts are humble, where hands are thankful, and where love is pure." And as she looked up, 1,000 stars blinked all at once, bright as fireflies. It was the sky's way of smiling. When she returned to the village, she told her people what she had heard. They gathered under the night and sang, not for food this time, but for joy, for gratitude, for life. Their voices rose, echoing through the hills, floating into the heavens. And though the sky remained far away, its light wrapped around them softly, like a mother's embrace. Many years passed in the land of Arawa. The old stories of hunger and pride were now told by moonlight, as grandmothers gathered children by the fire. At the center of every story stood one name, Nnenna. She had grown into a woman of grace and peace. She taught the people how to sing to the rain, how to plant in harmony with the seasons, and how to speak kindly to one another. When she spoke, even the wind listened. But one thing had not changed, the sky still lived far away. The people had learned to live without its closeness, yet sometimes, they longed for the old warmth. One evening, a group of young boys came to Nnenna. "Mother of songs," they said, "if we sing as you once did, will the sky come down again?" Nnenna smiled softly. "The sky never truly left," she said. "It only rose so that we might rise too." Then she took her small drum and began to sing. Her voice floated through the dusk. "Once we took without giving. But now we give before we take. The sky is high, yet still it listens. To every heart that stays awake." As her song filled the air, stars began to appear earlier than usual, as if heaven itself could not wait to listen. The children watched, amazed, whispering, "The sky remembers." And from that night, the people of Arawa promised never to forget again. Peace had returned to the land, but peace is like a delicate flower, it must be tended. A new generation had grown, one that had never known the sky's nearness. They heard the old tales, but to them, it felt like legend. One day, a season of drought came. The rains stopped. The rivers thinned. The crops began to suffer. Fear returned to Arawa's heart. Some younger men began to murmur. "Perhaps the sky has abandoned us again. Why should we keep praying? Why keep singing?" Queen Adira was old and weak now, resting more than she ruled. Nnenna had taken her place in guiding the people. She stood in the square one dry evening and said, "When the sky rose, we thought it was punishment. But it was teaching. If we stop being thankful, we invite darkness again." Still, many doubted. That night, as Nnenna prayed by the glowing blue stone in the village center, a sudden wind swirled around her. She opened her eyes and saw a faint shimmer in the air, like invisible wings passing. Then she heard a whisper, soft but clear. "Gratitude is light. Even in drought, it brings rain." She ran out and told the people. Some laughed, others watched silently. But a few, mostly children, knelt beside her and began to sing. At first, it was quiet. Then others joined. Then more. The song spread, warm and alive. And before dawn, clouds began to gather again. When the rain fell, it was gentle and silver. The people cried with joy. They finally understood, the sky no longer lived close, but it never stopped listening.